Hey peeps, welcome back to the Growth Lab podcast. I'm your host Matt Harris and I run the Growth Lab, a lead generation consultancy for commercial cleaning businesses. In today's episode, I chat with Terry Croom, owner of Baywash Window Cleaning Service in Bournemouth and the Copy Paste Franchisee Academy. After the 2008 credit crunch forced him to close a successful construction business, a chance suggestion from his cousin helped Terry launch Baywash, and 6 years later, he built it into a successful South Coast window cleaning franchise. In addition to running 2 successful businesses, Terry coaches and mentors other cleaning business owners by showing them how franchising is a great option for growth and how they can do it for themselves. For more tips on lead generation and insights on the most successful strategies, tools, and tactics to help grow your commercial cleaning business, sign up for the Growth Lab newsletter via the link in the episode description. You ready? Let's dive in. Hey Terry, nice to have you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Just want to give the listeners a bit of background in terms of how you ended up starting your window cleaning company and then pivoting that into a franchise. So I'd be interested for you to share your backstory.
Okay, it's a long story, but I'll try and keep it brief. I've been in business most of my working life for 46 years in the construction industry. You're probably too young to remember, but back in 2007, 2008, we had the banking crisis. And at that time, I had a company and we were responsible for refurbishing banking halls for some of the high street banks and building societies.
Okay.
And when the crunch came, of course, nobody expected it. And it basically put us out of business overnight. So I went from turning over hundreds of thousands of pounds a month to turning over zero. And I was sat in my kitchen with my wife and quite know what we were going to do. My cousin knocked on the door and popped in. He was a fireman at the time. And like a lot of firemen, he was cleaning windows in his spare time. And he said, why don't you come out with me? And, you can earn a little bit of money, put some food on the table. And I thought, well, I might as well. I've got nothing else to do. So it didn't take me very long, Matt, to realise that I could actually make money out of this.
Nice.
And, literally within months I was up and running.
Okay.
I left my cousin in the dust and the business just took off and it grew and grew and grew. And it got to the point where there was too much for one, not enough for two. Sort of thing. So I needed to employ people. Now, I've already employed people in the past, have done for years and years. Didn't really want to take on pay as you earn, and I wasn't all that keen on taking subcontractors.
Okay.
And a friend of mine suggested to me, why don't you franchise it? And my words to him was, who the hell is going to want to buy a franchise from me? And I went home and I thought about it and I thought, well, why not? So I looked into it and, well, again, long story short, I franchised the business, and I did that literally by asking all of my customers, did they know anybody that might be interested in running a business? You know how successful we are.
Yeah.
Did they know anyone? So my first franchisee was one of my customers.
Really?
And that's essentially how it happened. And it happened overnight. So, but it certainly wasn't planned.
Okay. So you joined, that's a great story. So you joined on the window cleaning round. So when you started to branch out on your own, how did you end up winning your first client? What was the approach that you took? You didn't nick the clients, did you? Did you go?
No. We use a bit of business management software, and that allows us to actually put in, every time we put in a new client, you can actually put in the source where we got that client from. And over a period of time, you can actually look back and judge what was your most successful source for getting clients in. And year on year, every time, it was canvassing.
Okay.
So that's how we started. We literally canvassed, got a job, canvassed the neighbours, asked them if they knew anybody that might want their windows cleaned. We ended up doing their mothers, their sisters. Basically, canvassing was the key.
Really?
First customer definitely came from canvassing.
Oh, wow. And then canvassing, I mean, I often where we get maintenance companies in particular, or roofers or gutter cleaners and all that, when they come around and do one house, I know they do like the locality. So I guess that's the principle you apply. But the interesting thing was that you were using like business management software from the get-go, because that's often like a last thought. Cleaning business owners in particular start their business, right? Because the main interest is, okay, we need to win that first client. But the fact that you were tracking where business was coming from the get-go, like that must have been an invaluable source for when you started your own business, right? What else were you able to learn from the data that you were collecting?
Well, I mean, we knew all about business management from previous businesses. I mean, I've been in business since I left school, so it wasn't new to me. I mean, it's just a natural thing for me to use.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that I mean, yeah, that was it for us, was canvassing. I mean, that's all we did really at the beginning.
And how did that evolve? So you started with canvassing. What was like the next stage, which had the biggest impact on the growth of your business? You
All
start with
right, yeah. So
canvassing, that's cool, but what was it? What was the biggest lever, I guess, that took you from getting started to actually getting to a point where you thought, I need help, and franchising is going to be the next best step?
well, franchising at that point was never on my mind. But aside from canvassing, we do a lot of advertising, a lot of marketing.
Okay.
Always have done.
Yeah.
So when I started the cleaning business, I'd already won half the battle. So I knew quite a lot about marketing and all the rest of it to get us up and running. So that certainly made life a lot easier for us. And then over time, we got a lot of recommendation. So an awful lot of our work came from recommendation. And I should also add that when I started the business, we live in a little village. All of the business is in the village.
Really?
Yeah. I was thinking along the lines of, I don't want to travel all the way over to the other side of Bournemouth, do one job, and then come all the way back over to the other side of Poole for another job. I wanted to do it all in the village where I live, so I just had to drive up the road. So
Okay.
we focused on the village.
That meant you could do volume as well, right? Because it was all
Yeah,
local. You're not
that's right.
wasting time traveling.
That's right. I mean, we've got roads in the village where we pull the van up, we pull the hose out the back of the van, and we don't move the van all day long. We just move the hose, and we just do rows of houses in the same road.
Wow. That must have a big impact on your bottom line, though, because you're not, travel expenses and all that kind of stuff is just taken out, and you're maximizing, the return on your time as well, right?
Exactly. I mean, again, I'm just working from previous knowledge, so I've always been working at an advantage when doing this. I never planned to start a cleaning business, but I did it using the knowledge I already have.
Yeah.
From running other businesses.
So what else? There's a few questions that I just want to unpeel, but what else from your previous experience did you use most effectively, or what else from your previous experience has been used most effectively within your window cleaning business?
Well, throughout my entire working life, I've always had this mindset that whatever it is that you do at the best of your ability. But the most important thing is to actually make sure that your customer has a valuable experience by using you, using your service. So that's probably one of the key things for us. We've always made sure that a customer gets a good experience.
And what does that experience look like from sort of point of them getting in contact with you to you finishing the job and the follow-up? What are the steps that the customer go through and that you go through as a business to ensure consistency in that service?
We get a phone call and I go round personally. Well, not so much now, but I used to go round personally, see the customer. I used to treat them like my best friend.
Yeah.
I knew what the job was going to cost almost before I got there, because you can Google it. We give them a price. I do it all there, so it's like an instant quote. I don't go away and let them wait for a day or two.
Yeah.
They get an instant quote. We've got a little quote form which we give them. I give that to them. It's in writing. I say that's what I've quoted. That's what it will be. Generally, 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes there and then. If they don't, they'll certainly follow up that evening with a phone call to say yes, we want to go ahead with that.
Yeah.
And then we do the job to a high standard, and then we can invoice them by email and they can pay online. The whole process is completely automated our end, and it's made as simple as possible their end.
And you mentioned a lot of, or the majority of your work is from recommendations. So once you've finished the work, do you have a follow-up procedure for which says, look, if you liked us, can you give us a review? But also, if there's anyone else here's a 10% discount or whatever it is on your next clean. Do you offer some sort of incentive like that?
We used to do that. We used to give them, if they recommended somebody, we used to give them a free clean, sort of things like that. But I mean, it didn't really work that well. You think it would, but it didn't really make a huge difference to us, so we stopped doing it. But they go on our system. Our system is automated, so 6 months from doing the job, we get notified our end to say that they're due again. We always phone up the day before we're due to say that their clean is due tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that we'll be there tomorrow at a certain time to get the job done. It gives them the opportunity then to make sure that gates aren't locked, and if they want to leave money under a brick by the back door, they can do that sort of thing. So we try to make it as easy as possible for the customer. Some of our customers I've never met. I mean, I've got a phone call from somebody. Can you give us a quote? I've gone around and quoted, put a slip through the door, got a phone call that night. Yes, please do it.
Yeah.
Done the job, sent them an invoice, paid online. And some of them literally I've never met.
Really?
Never met. That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, right. But it's good though. I mean, that, the reputation speaks for itself in that respect.
Yeah.
With the quoting process, do you still, or have you always gone around personally, or is that something that you've thought about, like automating and digitizing as well?
Well, in the early days, I did it all myself.
Okay.
But now the franchisees do their own.
Okay. And they go out personally as well, or do they have stuff online? Like,
no, there's nothing online for that. You really need that personal touch. You need to go around and look at the job and say, yeah, I can do it in so much time. And
yeah,
I mean, we've got set figures as well, which they can work from.
Okay.
So they've got a general sort of idea of how much. If they think they can earn a little bit more, then it's entirely up to them, because they're a franchise. It's their business.
Yeah,
they price it according to what they want, within reason.
Sure. Okay. You mentioned about marketing as well. So, canvassing obviously was the first point of call. What has been most effective for you after that?
Canvassing was the best. After that, we've done leaflet drops. We advertise in parish magazines, local magazines. We do Facebook group advertising, and Google Ads. We've done pretty much everything. There's always something out there somewhere promoting us.
Okay.
And obviously, we get quite a bit of work off the vans as well. There's quite a few vans kicking around there.
And that your advertising is consistent. Like, you just keep it running, because obviously it consistently generates whatever it does. Yeah, and have you increased just for your business, not for the franchisees, but have you increased your marketing spend like exponentially over time, or have you kept that pretty consistent as well? Because if you keep that consistent, then you get eyeballs will start building up over time in any case, because your ads, I guess, particularly online, get more optimized, right? So you don't necessarily need to increase the budget that much. What's your approach been to that?
Well, I mean, we advertise mainly for the franchisees now.
Okay.
Because my son's basically going to be taking the business over, so we don't need so much the actual physical work now anymore. We tend to sort of market the whole thing for the franchisees.
Yeah.
We provide all the work for them. They don't have to find their own.
Nice.
Even though they can if they want to, and they also pick up work as they go along.
Okay.
But our marketing is directed at getting enough work for everyone to increase grow their businesses.
So after you had that when you reached that initial tipping point of thinking, okay, I don't want to employ staff and I don't want to subcontract, franchising is the best option. Like, from you starting off on your own to you getting to that point, how long did it take you to get there?
6 years.
6 years, okay.
Yeah. When I started a business, it grew and grew and grew, and I was run off my feet. It was just so much work. It was ridiculous. I was thinking to myself, do I just keep it where it is and just keep me busy? But because of, business is in my DNA. I can't help but grow and expand businesses. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So I knew I had to grow it. And I also knew the pitfalls of employing people on the cards and subcontractors. And it is a ball ache, all of it. So when somebody suggested franchising to me, it's something I never considered. But I've done it now for 9 years, and I can honestly say it's the best way to grow and expand your business.
Really?
Nothing better. But people don't seem to get it. I don't know why. They just don't get it. So I'm trying to educate the world at the moment to seriously consider franchising their businesses.
Yeah.
It's an uphill struggle.
So talk to me about the franchising process. I as I mentioned before we went live, I considered franchising my cleaning business at one stage. I'd spoken with a couple of solicitors, franchise experts, just to get an idea as to what is involved. And there is quite a bit of preparation, in terms of documenting all the systems, getting all the fundamentals set up, deciding what you're going to provide within the franchise package and what you're not. Talk to me about once you had that initial idea, or once that idea was given to you, how long did it take for you to get the franchise set up, and what was like, what were the steps that you needed to take to get it set up as well?
It's 5 steps to putting together a franchise, and that is making sure that your business is franchise ready in the first place. Then you need to get the legal side of it in place. Then you need to get your franchise pack in place so you know exactly what it is that you're going to offer your franchisee and how much it's going to be. Then you need to get your first franchisee, and then you need to spend the rest of your life teaching and training and supporting your franchisees. It's five steps.
Okay.
But most people fall flat on their face on the first step because they are basically not franchise ready. And by franchise ready, you do really have to have everything in place. You have to have a business that somebody's going to be interested in investing in. You know, if you started on Monday and you want a franchise on Friday, you've not got a cat and house show. So you've got to be established. You've got to be able to show your potential investor that you're running at profit and that showing growth. If you can't do that, you're not going to go to the next step.
Yeah.
So that's the first part, and it's probably the hardest part. Second part is the legal side, which is quite complicated, but once you understand it, it's fairly straightforward. Getting the franchise pack together needs to be bang on. You know, you've got to make it look really attractive. You've got to make sure everything's explained in graphic detail so everybody's absolutely clear exactly what they're going to get, and you've got to be able to back that up and make sure that they get it. You've got to make sure you've got to get your first franchisee. Again, that's not straightforward. The first thing we did is asked all of our customers. That's how we got our first one and our second one. And then you need to support your team, which comes naturally to anybody that owns a business. Something you do day in, day out anyway. So it's a long slog. I mean, how was what was your biggest hurdle, would you say?
My biggest hurdle was sort of deciding on the franchise pack. I think was probably my biggest hurdle. The legal side was fine. You know, the business was doing all right. I think it probably didn't. The growth was good, but I think to make it really stand out and attractive, I think we probably needed to push a little bit more for another 18 months, 2 years to get it to a point where it was ready. But I think for me, it was the operational side, like what we were going to provide to the franchisees. That was the biggest hurdle for me to overcome, because, you know, trying to just centralize everything and then just looking at the business in a different way, right? Where you're, like you said, you're providing the support and you essentially become a sort of a marketing and operations business to a certain degree, because you're, as you mentioned, you're generating all the leads. Yes, the franchisees can go off and do that by themselves, but ultimately the thing that we weren't the strongest at was the lead generation as well. So, you know, that kind of made me think twice about going down the route of doing it. But I can certainly see, you know, there aren't that many cleaning business franchises. I know there's a handful of residential ones. I've come across maybe one commercial, like out of the box sort of franchise setup, but, you know, I don't know how successful or not that is. But window cleaning, oven cleaning, carpet cleaning, like they seem to be pretty ripe. And I think a lot of it, from my perspective, comes down to you're kind of already pretty niched, right? So the marketing and the positioning is relatively straightforward. Whereas like a generic cleaning business, who are you going to target? What are you going to focus on? You know, where you're going to get the biggest leads, all that kind of stuff. It's probably a little bit more convoluted to try and identify. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you talk about niche, I mean, when you say a cleaning business, I mean, that covers a multitude of different services, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, what sort of cleaning did you do? Is it office cleaning, domestic cleaning, or?
Yeah, so we were kind of split between office cleaning, so commercial stuff, and then we did a lot of end of tenancy cleaning as well, which is classed more as domestic, right? So that in itself, you know, if we had just focused on one and not the other, it would probably have given us a better chance. But as with 95% of cleaning businesses that I've come across, they offer the broad spectrum of stuff, whether it's you know, commercial, end of tenancy, builders cleans, carpet cleaning. Someone will do the window cleaning and all those bits as well, and janitorial supplies. So yeah, it's a hurdle, which makes, you know, window cleaning, oven cleaning, carpet cleaning, even domestic cleaning to a degree, makes it far more attractive as a franchising proposition.
Yeah, I think if you had a cleaning business with bulk, if you had enough clientele, enough business, then it should, in theory, be franchisable. It's really getting the bulk of interest in a bulk of customers. So it's I think you said your side of it was where you fell down was probably getting the leads. So maybe if the focus was on getting the leads, it would make your business more franchisable.
Yeah, and that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I've identified now is a big hurdle for a lot of cleaning business. It is getting the leads in, and doing the marketing and positioning themselves right.
I think the biggest problem at the moment is getting staff.
That's
You
the other
know, I
side of the
mean,
coin.
this is a
Yeah,
major problem right across the board at the moment. It's
yeah,
getting staff. I mean, the business world out there at the moment is a really unstable place. Very
yeah. It is.
unstable. I've never seen it so bad, but we'll
Yes.
get through it.
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Mm.
And also, these challenging times often bring about innovation, right? So who knows what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years in terms of, bringing around new businesses that help solve bits of the problem. I don't think staffing is something that can be easily solved. There might be processes always, things are done in particular which help speed up the process and make things more efficient and effective. Who knows? So look, I'm curious to know before we start wrapping things up. Obviously, we're talking a lot about growth. Interested in how a failure or apparent failure in your business has set you up for later success. Like, was there one particular or a big turning point or one harsh lesson that this whole experience has taught you, which has provided a catalyst for additional success that you've had in your business?
Yeah, well, I'd have to say the banking crisis
Yeah.
was the thing that turned it all around for us. None of this was planned, so I can't really sort of say that I'm now got a cleaning franchise company because of a failure. I've got it because of losing my company as a result of somebody else's failure. So, I mean, I've had failures in the past. I've run several businesses. They've not all worked. In fact, I had a photographic studio in Poole at one point,
Oh wow.
which failed dismally. I just couldn't afford to run the building because the rates on it were so high. So that failed, unfortunately, because photography is a bit of a passion of mine as a hobby. But for the cleaning business, I'd have to say it was the banking crisis that basically saved my life, because the business I was in was so stressful. I said to my wife, if I'd stayed in this much longer, it probably would have killed me.
Oh wow.
So I think the banking crisis probably saved my life. Yeah, because
Nice.
cleaning windows is damn sight easier than
Yeah.
being given a £30,000 project and it's got to be done in 5 days. And
Yeah, I bet.
if you don't get it done in 5 days, they start penalising you and fining you. It's stress.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, that's
well
good.
rid of that.
Okay, before we wrap things up, Terry, I just want to ask you a couple of quick fire questions, if I may.
Yeah,
One
sure.
is, what's the one golden rule that you apply throughout your cleaning business and cleaning franchise to make it run successfully?
Biggest golden rule for me is to make sure that your customer is king. Your customer needs to feel that the only reason that you got out of bed this morning was to make sure you looked after them.
Nice.
I've always worked on that principle.
Yeah,
Customer is king, so they need to feel like they're special, and that
nice.
you only work for them. That's what I do for every customer.
Yeah, it's a great bit of advice. What is one bit of advice you would give your younger self for starting your franchise? Let's not think about the cleaning business because we know what the catalyst
Yeah.
was for that. But for starting your franchise, what's the one bit of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Knowing what I know now, if I was starting out all over again, I would definitely be looking at building a business that can be franchised,
Okay.
to make sure that you've got everything in place. And then from there on, it'll be a damn sight easier. I would, if I knew about franchising 30 years ago, I'd probably be retired years ago. It is such an easy way to actually expand and grow your business.
Yeah.
I say easy, it's not easy, but it can be done, and
Okay.
it's well worth the effort.
Perfect.
So yeah.
So look, Terry, if people want to get in contact with you about franchising, or one thing we haven't covered is obviously you offer a bit of mentoring and that as well. What's the easiest way for them to get in contact with you?
They can track me down on Facebook, or we've got a website which is www.baywash.co.uk. Shall I give you
Perfect.
my email?
Yeah, let's do it.
Terry Croom @gmail.com. Nice and simple.
Nice.
I'll be happy to talk to anybody if they want to go down a franchise route. I do mentor. I do a 90-day tuition package. Yeah. So if anybody wants to go down that road, all I want to do is help you, because I'm frustrated at the fact that not more people are taking the franchise route, and it should be. they're leaving money on the table.
Perfect. Great way to end.
All right.
Thanks to Terry for joining us on the Growth Lab podcast, and thanks to you guys for listening. You can access the show notes and resources via the link in the episode description. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others who you think will find it useful across social media, or leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @Iam_Matt Harris. That's MATTHARRIS to catch all the latest from the Growth Lab and how to generate more contract opportunities for your cleaning business. See you next time, and remember, if your cleaning business isn't growing, it's dying.